Even for sap moon, the weather was vile. Gusting winds tugged at Briar's cover. Icy rain pelted the cloth. Everyone who had pinned their hopes on an early spring now drooped as they went about their days. His birthday ought to be in a green month. That way he could plead garden chores to cut short any sloppy, sentimental parties, like the one they'd had for Tris soon after the turning of the year. The wagon's wheels lurched. Its movement changed, making him slide across the many baskets and boxes that formed his seat. Briar went to the side of the wagon and peered out from under the drape. They had turned off Temple Road, the highway that ran between Summersea and the Temple community of Winding Circle, where Briar, Sandry, and their housemates lived. Now the wagon clattered down Nosegay Strut, the main street of the slum called the Mire. Ahead, Briar could see their destination, the large, forbidding two-story building called Erda's House, where the city's poor came for the cheapest possible medical help. He wished that his teacher, the Earth Temple dedicate Rosethorn, didn't come here, but she took her vows to serve the poor seriously. He'd only once suggested that they stop bringing the medicines they made to this place. After she'd finished her answer, he decided never to bring it up again.
And why is it,
he thought irritably,
that every time we come here it's raining?
The wagon passed through the gate in the tall fence around Erda's house and stopped. Briar stood and began to fold back the canvas drape. As he did, he looked out through the gate across the street. That winter he'd made friends with a girl named Flick, a thief of the breed called street rat. Every market day that Briar came to Erda's house with Rosethorn, Flick met him there. Together they would roam Summersea, getting into things and swapping tales of Flick's days and Briar's life when he'd been a street rat in distant Hajra. Today, though, he saw no Flick, only a trio of street rats he knew to be friends of hers. He hoped she wasn't in jail. He really liked Flick. A woman in the dark green cloak and habit of one who had dedicated her life to the service of the earth gods climbed down from the seat beside the driver of the cart. She thrust back the hood of her cloak to reveal a head of chestnut hair cropped mannishly short and parted on one side. Her face was lovely, with large brown eyes, creamy skin, and a beautifully carved mouth. Briar had once thought she was her name, as pretty as a rose, as quick to bite as a thorn, before he'd scolded himself for romancing and shoved the notion out of his brain. Whatever else he thought, Rosethorn was a plant mage, his teacher in the gardener's and herbalist's arts.
"Look alive, boy,"
she advised him crisply, coming to stand next to the bed of the wagon.
"Those medicines won't do any good if they're wet."
"They ain't wet. I wrapped 'em good."
He handed one covered bushel basket out to her and another to the wagon's driver, who had come to help.
"Every time we bring you down here, all we've drummed into that thick skull on proper speech just gets buried in the mud," Rosethorn commented, shaking her head. "Stay up there. We'll do the carrying."
She followed the driver up the steps to the wide porch and into the hospital. It took 3 trips for the 2 adults to carry everything inside. Once that was done, Rosethorn took a final basket from the cart and thanked the driver. Briar hopped out. With a nod to the dedicate, the driver climbed onto his seat and drove away. Rosethorn looked at Briar.
"You're off to see that friend of yours?"
"If I can find her. I didn't see her waiting."
Rosethorn pointed to a tower crowned by an immense clock, visible over the wall that kept city and Myers separate.
"Meet me at the guild hall at 3 o'clock. If you aren't there—"
"You'll hang me in the well,"
Briar said with a grin. It was a much-repeated threat.
"And don't stand here getting wet."
Shaking her head, Rosethorn walked into Erda's house. Briar crossed the street, inspecting the street rats as they shivered in the icy wind. 2 walked away, flicking their fingers at him in a casual wave. The third nodded. Briar squinted.
"Flick never told me your name." "Allie Pup."
The other boy, smaller, dark-skinned and dark-eyed, dressed in tatters, shifted from foot to foot. He wore no shoes, only muddy rags wrapped around his feet.
Flick said I was to bring ya.
Bring me where?
To her den down below. She don't look so good.
Don't look so good how?
Briar felt his own arms as if he warmed them. In truth, he was checking that the hideout knives strapped to his wrists were in place, hilts set so he could free them quickly. There were other blades in sheaths all over his body, but the wrist knives were the quickest to reach. Allie-Pup sighed.
She's got spots, like she's sick. And she's got no coin for Erda. She asked would you come have a look.
Me?
Briar demanded, shocked.
I grow things. I'm no healer.
Flick told me you seen sick folk before. You helped Dedicate Rosethorn do up medicines and things. Course, if it's too much trouble...
Allie-Pup turned away. Briar grabbed the street rat and glared at him.
I never said I wouldn't. I was just surprised is all. Where's Flick?
Allie-Pup led Briar into an open cellar and under some lumber that leaned against its stones. Here was an open tunnel underground. A few steps inside brought them to a niche in the wall. The street rats had put oil lamps there.
I don't suppose you'd light these up, you being a mage and all.
You want my mate Triss for that,
Briar informed the other boy. In the language of the streets, a mate was the closest of friends.
Or Daja, that's back at Winding Circle. I can't do fire.
Humph, that's no help.
He fumbled in his pocket and produced flint and steel to light the wick. Briar's thin-bladed nose twitched as the reek of hot animal fat filled the air. He'd forgotten that scent. At home in the temple city of Winding Circle, they used oil treated with herbs. The dog work of filling jars with oil and chopping herbs into them was his least favorite chore, but now it seemed the chore was worth some trouble.
And ain't I getting nice over such things in my elderliness?
He thought as he followed Allie-Pup down the tunnel. They crawled for about 60 yards. Splashing through a trickle of wet, Briar wondered how Rosethorn would react when he returned with mucky clothes. She was all too likely to dump him into a horse trough and keep him there until he was clean. Rosethorn liked dung as much as any gardener or plant, but she had strong feelings about it when it was on Briar. He was all too aware that this sense of being dirty marked another change in his life since he'd left the Hajran slums. Was he ever himself any more? His sense of direction told him they were headed west, under the wall that guarded Summersea proper. The network of clay pipes here sported cracks and leaks, the most recent damage from last summer's earthquake.
Flick says you was street,
his guide remarked, stopping for a quick rest.
In Dead Man's District in Hadra, in Sotat. They called me Roach. I did purse and pocket work, and burgled some.
Allie-Pup whistled softly. Thieves were important people. They had money once they'd managed to feed themselves.
How old were you?
4.
Briar stepped around what looked like a long-dead dog.
The thief lord took me in after a while and gave me my name.
The street's from 4. That's harsh,
Allie-Pup said and coughed. Leaning away from Briar, he spat into the deeper running water of the city sewers.
My mom and dad only loped off 2 minutes back. Said I was too hard to raise.
Briar slipped and had to brace himself against the walls around him to get his balance.
Think I'll boil my hands before I eat again,
he thought. To Allie-Pup, he said,
I never knew any but my ma, that died. Now I guess my mates at Winding Circle, the girls. They're like sisters. They're complicated, though.
Mages is always complicated,
Allie-Pup commented. They had come to an intersection. He looked both ways, then led Briar right into a larger tunnel.
We've been hearing stories about you and them 3 girls since the quake.
They splashed on in silence for a while. The pipes got big enough that they could walk if they didn't mind hunching over and getting their heads knocked from time to time. These pipes were glazed clay, better in quality than the smaller ones, though Briar still noticed quake damage. Some of it had been repaired, the newer clay lighter in color than the old stuff. Once they'd stopped for another rest, Briar noticed that Allie-Pup wheezed a great deal. The other boy remarked,
Flick says you was a jailbird.